Witchers, the offspring of foul sorcery and witchcraft, and subject of slight debate if you like to build things like that in D&D like I do. I recently made my Geralt of Rivia character conversion, and I told myself that if anyone commented on the video about the Blood Hunter, and how I did not use the Blood Hunter, that I would make a video about what exactly the best way to build a Witcher is in D&D 5th edition. Now, I have no problem with the Blood Hunter class. I think it's, thematically, it's very fun to use, but I just don't think it is the best option for creating a Witcher, and you'll see why as I go over it in this video. Now, somewhat collectively from what I've seen, there tends to be 3 suggestions for building a Witcher in D&D. You either are told to build an Eldritch Knight Fighter, a Monster Slayer Ranger, I always want to say Monster Hunter, but no, it's a Monster Slayer, and then finally the Order of the Mutant Blood Hunter, because it is quite literally based on The Witcher. Or at least that's what everyone says, it's literally based on The Witcher. It's more of inspired by The Witcher, and you'll see what I mean by that. We're going to look at all 3 of these classes together. We're going to see exactly what all they allow you to replicate that the Witchers can do, and how well they allow you to do that. You see here we have 5 Witchers, and under their abilities are the 4 pillars that we will focus on for replicating a Witcher in D&D. Superhuman abilities, swordsmanship, alchemy, and signs. Now, superhuman abilities, this is D&D. Really, all PCs are somewhat superhuman in some way if you really think about it. I mean, once you pass level 6, you're already in that territory. So that one is one that all 3 of these classes are already going to be ranked, A, and I just get a point, and I don't know how I'm scoring this. So next, all we need is swordsmanship, signs, and our alchemy. Swordsmanship, I believe all of these classes can use a longsword, but as from that list, Deglin used a longsword and axe, I believe. Sven, I think, just used an axe, and Luca used, or I don't think we saw him draw his weapon, but it looked like a rapier, at least to me. Maybe it could have just been a longsword or the basket hilt, I guess, but I'm just going to say it's a rapier. So you can be somewhat flexible with the weapon that you use. The point is that you got to be good in melee combat. I think we can accomplish that with all 3 of these classes, so they all get a point there as well. Now, alchemy is a bit more specific, so we want to have proficiency with alchemist supplies in the least. The only one of these that gives you that would be the Blood Hunter, so that is a point in its favor. You start with proficiency with alchemist supplies. The other ones, you would need to use your background, or perhaps a race. I didn't review them all before doing this, so you need it from an outside source other than the class in order to get access to alchemist supplies. And then I'd say I want to give Blood Hunter sort of like an additional point here, maybe, because of the mutagens. I mean, those are clearly based on the Witcher mutagens. Some are hit and miss, I would say, but I mean, you really do get that feel with them. And it's something that you're not going to be able to just replicate with the alchemist supplies alone. I do actually wonder if it would be possible to if you could make a feat that sort of did what the Blood Hunter Order of the Mutant gets. Like you get a feat that allows you to make some mutagens like that. Because I mean, personally, I think the Blood Hunter is a cool class as far as like turning these dark thing, or what people perceive to be darkness, against darkness. So, you have the Order of the Lycan, taking lycanthropy, turning it against them, the ghost and whatnot. I found a fan-made book that was very nice, and it had a vampire-themed one, which is honestly what I think the Order of the Mutant probably should have been, because it just seems out of place when beside the other ones. I mean, because it feels like it's there because he loves The Witcher, obviously, but it's there to be The Witcher. It's not there really fitting the rest of the class theme, in my opinion. And like maybe all of them should have had access to mutagens. There's actually a really good adventure on the DM's Guild. It's like a one-person adventure, and it's themed for a Blood Hunter. And he creates the Blood Hunter concoctions, which allow you to harvest things off of monsters to gain abilities. It's very nice and it's similar to the mutagens. But back to the subject, is the mutagens are nice, and so it kind of gives a boost here as far as the skill with alchemy goes, because you have it all contained within the class. So I give all of the classes a boost here, because they can all get alchemist supplies, but the Blood Hunter, I keep saying the Blood Hunter, really what I need to specify is the Order of the Mutant gets both the alchemist supplies as well as the mutagens as a class feature. And then finally there's the signs. And it's here where Order of the Mutant just completely falls flat. The Blood Rites, the Blood Maledicts, all that stuff, you cannot replicate signs with this. The closest you can get to representing a Witcher sign with the Order of the Mutant is if you take the Rite of Flame, and you can sort of do Igni that way. I know in the anime, Vesemir catches a sword on fire, that we put a chemical on it first, and then in the second season of The Witcher, you see Geralt kind of wave his hand over his sword, and then it catches fire as well. So you can do that, but nothing else. You cannot represent any of the other signs using the Blood Hunter. Now, the Eldritch Knight, you can represent all of the signs by about level 13, I think, because that is when you can get Magic Circle. But before that, I mean, you have plenty of stuff to work with. Get Prestidigitation, Gust, and Blade Ward for cantrips. You have Burning Hand, Charm Person, Shield. Detect Magic is not for a sign, it's more to represent your Witcher medallion. Shatter, Suggestion, Gust of Wind, Scorching Ray, and then at 13 levels we can get Magic Circle. Ard would be Gust, Shatter, Gust of Wind. Igni, Burning Hand, Scorching Ray. You're in Magic Circle, Quinn, Shield, and Blade Ward, Axii, Charm Person, and Suggestion. And the added advantage of this is it's all pretty straightforward. Minus the necessary background giving you alchemist supplies, all of this is self-contained within the class. You don't have to use up any of your feats, which the fighter will be getting a lot of ability score bonuses, so you can either have high stats or a lot of feats. And all of your spells will represent your signs. So there's that advantage. Now, Monster Slayer, you can also represent the signs with, but it takes a bit more work to do. You have to eat up your fighting style to take Druidic Warrior so that you can get the cantrips Control Flame and Produce Flame. The reason that I focus so much on like the ability to not only make fire but also to be able to extinguish it is because the last Witcher game I played was Witcher 2, and in the very beginning there is a part where you have to extinguish candles so that way you can sneak around in the dark without having to fight anybody. The Control Flame cantrip actually made me realize you could possibly replace Prestidigitation with Control Flame on the Eldritch Knight, but then you really only have Burning Hands and Scorching Ray to light something on fire, and I really don't feel like that's it's not an effective way to say light a campfire. And at 4th level, you'll need to trade your first ability score improvement to get Magic Initiate, so that way you can take at least the Friend's Cantrip and the Shield spell. And that's for Axii and Quinn. Otherwise, with the addition of the fighting style that I already mentioned, the ranger spells can replicate the Witcher signs. You can take Gust of Wind for Ard, Control Flame, Produce Flame, and Searing Smite are all fall under Igni. Protection from Evil and Good is actually, I think, can work for Ygritte other than Magic Circle, so you can get it a little sooner than the Eldritch Knight can. Then you have Shield and Friends, like I said. The only thing here is that you're tying yourself specifically into a fighting style, like you need the Druidic fighting style, and then you also need to get that Magic Initiate feat. Whereas you can get all of this sooner on the Monster Slayer, but in a way, the Eldritch Knight is more open to customization as far as with your ability score improvements and what feats you can take. So I would go so far as to say that Eldritch Knight is probably the best representation of the Witcher, if that's what you want to go with, followed by Monster Slayer, and then Order of the Mutant. Just because I don't feel like the mutagens, while nice, I don't think they make up for basically your complete lack of ability to represent the Witcher signs. Or if you just want to play the idea of, being mutated by dark magics and, using evil to fight evil, the monster hunting monster aspect, the Blood Hunter is perfect for that, and I actually think it's really interesting. I have an entire Witcher-themed campaign that basically just has the players taking on quests, hunting monsters and such, and everyone is a blood hunter. And it can work. I have tested it a bit, but not as much as I'd like. I'd actually like to do a full game of that. I think it would be very fun. But I'm just tired of seeing that anytime someone asks, how can I build Geralt of Rivia, or how do I build a Witcher, and everyone says, just build a blood hunter. It is literally the Witcher. And I'm like, it's not. It's a fun class. You can have fun with it, but it is by far not the best way to build and represent a Witcher. But that's just my opinion. And if you disagree, go ahead and tell me why in the comments. And who knows, maybe I'll respond there, or maybe inspire an entire other video. And if you've taken the time to get this far, I hope you also take the time to like the video and share it. Other than that, I hope all your 20s are natural, and I'll see you next time.